that bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.
All right, welcome to another episode of Behind the Gear. And sitting today with Dave Rook, London native, who has made quite a career in hockey, obviously, and in a position that we always joke that we never want our kids to play, but in goaltending, obviously, and that's kind of where your specialty is. But kind of going back a little bit, Dave, where minor hockey and stuff, where did you play growing up?
I grew up near Exeter, so minor hockey was up that way. Junior B, I went into Strathroy and St. Thomas, and that was basically it. Then ended up going overseas for 5 years to play overseas.
What was that like? So you went right out of Junior B to over to Europe then?
No, actually, funny enough, I went to college, started a career, and met my future wife, and we decided.
No way.
Yeah, we decided to go over to Britain and continue with my career at that time, and then just got back involved in hockey and started playing hockey.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So you went over there work-wise, not even going to play, and then all of a sudden kind of got back into it.
Yeah.
How many years in between, let's say, junior to playing pro?
I would say a good 4 or 5.
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Gave it up cold turkey and then just got back into it. So,
really?
Different career path for sure.
But I mean, you obviously stayed in unbelievable shape. You're just a specimen back then, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just jump right back into it.
Good thing we're on radio.
Exactly. That's And what was it like playing in Europe? Was it? I know back then a little bit different than now, as far as maybe the rinks weren't up to standards and stuff. But was it pretty cool leagues and pretty cool?
Yeah,
it
was good. Like it's definitely evolved quite a bit now.
Yeah.
It wasn't as high profile back then, but just the fact that you're getting paid to play hockey and being over in Britain, the atmosphere in the rinks, the chanting, the cheering, and all that kind of stuff is unbelievable. So,
yeah.
And like I said, just everybody's dream is to play and make money playing hockey. So it was a great opportunity.
Yeah, it's pretty cool when you get that first paycheck to actually be a player, right?
Oh, exactly.
And I guess over there, for people that have never played over in Europe, when you watch soccer matches over there, I mean, bigger scale, obviously, but how crazy the fans get and how much they get into it. But same thing with hockey, right? Smaller scale as far as the number of people in the stands, but they get right into it.
Oh, yeah. It's just the patter of the British and Scottish people. Yeah. It's just some of the chants that come up. It's you get a little chuckle on the ice when you hear, the different sayings and stuff like that. And, I even we went one game in England and, they're throwing, it was a chicken wire around the rink and they're throwing pennies on the ice and it was just like crazy.
Old school.
Yeah.
And probably hacking butts, probably smoking in the stands and drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get off the ice, smell like a big cigarette.
No,
It's perfect. Yeah. No, that's great. And then, so fast forward from there, then you come back to obviously London area, kind of established. And then, I mean, you had some pretty cool careers that you did, like with the sports shop, right? You kind of ran that for a little bit.
Yeah, got back into the hotel business. I had my sports shop, started coaching Junior B, and then went up to, got the opportunity with the Knights, and then it just kind of evolved from there and became more of a career, except, just a full-time career.
When did hockey for you become a full-time career post playing? So like when you were done, you were in the hotel industry for a little bit, had your sports shop for a little bit, and then the Knights kind of a side gig a little bit at the time. And then when did you finally, between running hockey schools and probably doing development for goaltenders, how long basically into your career did you say, you know what, I can maybe make a go of this and this could be potentially a full-time job for me?
Well, it really came the year before we won the Mem Cup in 05, so 04. I had a tough decision to make because the Knights gave me the opportunity to coach there. I was at the hotel business and they didn't really like me cutting away at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so they kind of said it's either one or the other. So at that point I had to make a choice, and I think I had Tyler was just born or within a year old, and I had to make the decision.
That's a tough one.
Well, yeah, you give up a good paying job at the hotel for $3,000 a year job. It was a big decision. So basically 04 was when I turned to it full time.
And what else were you doing to kind of help your income out at that point? You had obviously the Knights gig for a small salary type thing, or whatever you want to call it. And then was it mostly hockey schools and things like that that you were doing on top of that in the summer and throughout the year?
Just started getting into that. And then I think it was, I started with, I think it was 06, 07 when I started with St. Louis. I got the opportunity to be the development goalie coach for St. Louis. which gave me a little bit more income at that time. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, just doing schools and just finding different things to do.
Yeah, no, it's funny because when I started this whole thing, same thing, kind of, I was single. No, I didn't have any children when I started it, but it was one of those things where I got to put all my eggs in this basket if I'm going to make it go. If it's going to fall on its face, it's fine. I'll figure it out. But once you do commit 100% to something like this, anything, doesn't matter what it is, then you can start to see, wow, I can actually maybe make a go of this, and things start to kind of fall in place. It doesn't happen right away, but you work at it and you kind of establish yourself and kind of get your resume out there and get your reputation going. And then all of a sudden, you're like, man, this may be able to work.
Well, that's the thing. If you have the passion for it, and as they say, what's for you won't go by you. So if it's meant to be, it'll be. So,
yeah.
And like you say, once you have little mouths to feed, you do put commit to it 100%.
It's called motivation.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, and you've got two boys. Both of them played a little bit of hockey. I know Cameron, your older boy, played high level. Played, was up in that AA, AAA loop for a little while, right? What was it like for a dad going through it? Now, were you always kind of in the back of your mind, like, man, I hope one of them's a goaltender, or did you care one way or the other, or it didn't really matter?
No, I never wanted them. I didn't think there was much need for a 5'7" goaltender. So it's just one of those things where when you coach goalies, you don't want to have to come home and you feel that you'll be critiquing them too much.
Yeah, for sure.
And, again, it's one of the benefits of being involved in hockey that you do look at it at a different perspective.
Yeah.
And you want them to be well-rounded. You want them to compete and give their 100% and be a good teammate and all that kind of stuff. But I think you have a different outlook of where it's going to take them.
Yeah.
And like any sports, is if they can get something out of it, that's all you can, all you gear for and be happy with. So.
I think that's a key thing, having played and obviously been through it and then being part of the NHL and at that level of the age, you see how hard it is to make a pro, you know what I mean? And when I've got two young kids, so I'm just starting out, but that's the one thing where, right now we got parents, my little guy's 6. So got parents that are losing it already at 6 years old that, oh my, you can't stop, you can't do this or you can't do that, or, like, relax. Like it's everything's going to be okay. If he loves the game or loves snowboarding or whatever it is, and he's passionate about it, then see where that takes him. And, obviously as a parent, you help open doors and bring him to lessons and do things like that. But at the end of the day, and I think you can probably identify pretty good when you see those kids that have that potential, that, man, this kid wants it. He works hard. He's a good kid. He's got good parents. Like, there's a lot of things that go into making these players, into whatever they're going to be.
Well,
right?
They need that intrinsic motivation. It's got to come from within. And like I say, your parents can push you and do whatever you want, but if the kid doesn't want it, it's not going to come to fruition anyway. So, and Cameron, he had more interest in it than Tyler did. He played AAA for a couple of years, but then he got into golf, and he, is a very good golfer.
Cool.
So it's one of those things where, it's cool because he's a better golfer than I am. Yeah. So there's no pressure to go out and, you just go out and enjoy it with them. And something, no matter how old I get, I can always enjoy it with them. Yeah. Tyler's, he's into, we trap shoot. Me and him went.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, we went and got our gun license together, so we go trap shooting together.
Okay, what exactly is that? Explain that to me.
It's just where they shoot the birds out of the house, and you just try and hit them out in the air. So it's.
Do you ever do like the clay discs and stuff like that?
That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so it's just there's difference between trap and skeet.
Okay.
And we just do trap because I'm limited. But again, it's another thing where he's way better.
No way. That's cool.
Yeah, he's better at it than I am. So it's not as if you're analyzing or critiquing him, and just something that you can enjoy doing with him. So. Tyler, he went back. He played Red Circle younger, quit it for a few years, and the last couple of years he went back and played Red Circle again. So cool. It's just again they find their own path. Yeah. And, all you want them is to be happy. And do what they're interested in doing.
No, for sure. And you were saying something, you said earlier about just getting something out of the game. And I think a lot of times parents think scholarship or pro contract, but for me, it's more life lessons, like being a bit disciplined, knowing how to work out, knowing how to work hard. Exactly. And then also meeting friends. Like right now he's playing, fun hockey with his buddies, but he's probably got a ton of buddies on that team. They probably drive to the rink together, have a good time, and hang out on the weekends. And I think that's another big part of that whole. And then life lessons later on, where being part of a team, whether you're in the hotel business or you're doing what we do or whatever it is, being able to be a part of a team and work together with a lot of different characters.
No, exactly. And like I said, it's whether it's a job opportunity through a contact they made through hockey or whatever it may be, as long as you can get something out of the sport, there's a lot that you can get out of it, and just got to keep things in perspective.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think as parents, that's kind of a big role that sometimes we aren't good at, but keeping things in perspective. And
well, we learn as we get older too, right?
Yeah.
So it's, I'm sure there's times where I And a lot of times you get frustrated because you see your kid not working as hard as what he should be.
Right. Yeah.
More so than, but again, you want your kid to do what he's capable of doing. That's all that you can ask for. So.
No, for sure. Now going back into goaltending, I guess, how much have you seen the game change in that position alone over the last, you've been doing this since St. Louis, let's say at the pro level, for probably 10 years now. Right?
Yeah. Well, we started, I think I started 06, 07 there.
Okay, so 12 years. Yeah.
So, and then it's gone everywhere from, being the development coach, which I am now, to head guy, to going over to Europe. So it is different. It's nice seeing different perspectives of it. But the game has changed because, obviously goaltending is such a huge part of it. But it's still part that is somewhat neglected too.
For sure.
In the National Hockey League, it's just now every team is getting a development guy. But now they're starting to get a third guy in where it's going to be strictly scouting. Teams are going that way. So, you just watched the Super Bowl the other night and they have a quarterback coach, they have this coach, they have that coach. And, some teams are still negligent in their goaltending, which is such a vital part. But it has evolved quite a bit. Like I look back and when I played and some of the things, the way I made saves and, some things that have evolved and got better. You look back and you think, the way we did it back then, there was a purpose behind why we did it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, sometimes the old way can still be active nowadays. Like sometimes we, as much as we're trying to evolve it, sometimes we get too much that we try and recreate it.
Right.
And so there's that fine line too.
Yeah, it's kind of a blend of kind of old school. And even like you look back on guys like Hasek, who's like, probably like not the stereotypical type of goaltender, but just made saves.
Yeah.
And found a way to get in front of pucks and was maybe a little erratic and all over the place. But there's a style that, going back to that, being struck, let's say Carey Price style, but once in a while you're gonna have to go back to that. You're gonna have to scatter, you're gonna have to be athletic, you're gonna have to, dive in front of pucks and
throw a 2-pass slide in there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. A nice big poke check at the hash marks.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Every save has a purpose too.
Yeah. And then what are some of the biggest areas that you've noticed as far as just even the players? So if you look back on, let's say 12 years, which isn't really that, it's not that big of a time slot really, but when we look at 12 years ago to now, we watch an old game 12 years ago, even the players are like, oh, how slow is it? Clutching, grabbing, totally different game. And then you look now at the goalie specific position, what's changed in those players as a goaltender from 12 years ago to now? Are they bigger? Are they more athletic? Are they more put together?
Like from a goalie perspective?
Yeah, just for the goaltenders. Yeah.
Yeah, I think now it's back when I played, if you were smaller, you went in net.
Right.
And now it's now the goalies, you have to, it's pure science, you have to fill space. So the goalies are bigger but not only are they bigger, they're mobile.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to hockey IQ. Goalies are so well schooled nowadays, but if they can't think the game, if they can't process, and some of it's a blame for like people like myself, goalie coaches, where we handicap a goalie because in this situation you have to do that rather than just read and reacting. Okay, read the game. And some goalies they start playing goal too early, where they don't go out and play pond hockey. They don't go out and play defense, where they understand what. If your D's 2-on-1, you've never played D, so you don't know how the D handles it, or you don't know for forward what you're thinking. So there's not that connecting of the dots that it should be there.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes we want more goalie coaching, but sometimes goalie coaching can be a detriment as well.
Sure.
So.
No, that's I never even thought of that. And even tying hockey IQ to a goaltender, you don't hear that a lot.
Yeah.
You always hear with players, right? Oh, he's got no hockey IQ, or he's got high hockey IQ. He gets the game. He sees plays happening. But at the goalie position, I personally haven't heard that a lot, which is huge. I totally agree with you. Even watching games and watching how. Yeah. But I think the other thing that you mentioned there was playing other positions. I even for forwards or defense, I think it's important for a forward to play D, to understand what that D. Because
absolutely.
Forwards are the first ones to bitch at the D or bitch at the goalie because he didn't stop a puck or the D didn't get the puck out, but they don't realize how hard that is sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And vice versa, those D playing forward and realize, wow, how much skating these guys do and how hard it is sometimes to get pucks out on the half wall or different things like that, and having a better appreciation for those positions.
Well, I was just talking to Nathan Craze, and we're talking about handling a 2-on-1.
Yeah.
And what the goalie should be focused on the puck carrier. And again, it's anticipation. You got to anticipate who's in the best scoring position. a right-hand shot coming down a left wing, or is it the pass could go to a lefty or a righty for a one-timer. What's your D taking away? You anticipate what could happen, but you don't overcommit to it. Like your first priority is the puck carrier, but you have to have that look in your eye, that be aware of what could happen and be able to anticipate it. But, so it's you have to read the game and kind of foresee what could happen, but don't commit to what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, and even for young goalies out there, and parents or coaches that are helping them out, getting goaltenders to be aware. Just like you said, if you got a lefty coming down the right side and taking a quick glance as a goalie and seeing what hand that player is he going to open up for a one-timer? Or is he going to catch it on his forehand? That's a different play and a faster shot on the one-time. So, being aware of what's coming at you. Where I think a lot of goalies get mesmerized, especially young goalies get mesmerized by the play and the puck and don't really realize what's going on, on the other side sometimes. They're not even, they know the player's there, but don't identify what hand they are. And players are the same. Like if players on a 2-on-1, how often does the player recognize what hand their winger is, right? They're just throwing a bad pass over and it's hard to handle.
That's the hockey smarts. That's
totally,
because again, you see a lot of young goalies, or even at the pro level, they don't read it properly. They transition on their knees, and whereas they should be getting across feet to feet. And just that the early read, the transition gets them to where they should be in a better position to make the save. Because a lot of times you see them, they transition on their knees, they realize they're late or early, they get up, and the shot comes and they have to drive down there behind it and it goes 5-hole. It's a bad read, but it goes back to earlier. It was a bad goal, but it's a poor read. And it could have been prevented or handled differently or control a rebound better or whatever it may be.
When you're dealing with young players that, let's say kind of that Adam age group, let's say, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like in that minor hockey age group that are starting to establish their positions. They're obviously going to be a goaltender. They love it. That's what they're passionate about. What are some of the key things that you would tell a parent at that age as far as helping that goaltender become a better goalie? So they're maybe going to do lessons with you or go to a camp or do different things that are specific to goaltending. But is there any advice that you would give to a parent away from the rink or other sports or other things that can help this goaltender become a better goalie?
Well, like on the ice, what we deal with is, you look at a lot of drills, and again, it's every goalie is so well schooled nowadays. We focus on the must-haves. So you must have mobility, you must have rebound control, you must have hockey IQ to read the game. So we focus on things like that. Like from a parent's perspective, again, it's the biggest thing with goaltending is confidence. If you have that trust and confidence in yourself, you're going to go in with the right mindset. And if as soon as you start questioning yourself, that's when you're done. Ideally, we tell parents to try and stay away because you don't really understand the game itself. And like we just talked about, there's so many things that could happen prior to a goal going in. But at the end of the day, you look at it and think, well, the goalie should have had that. So if you don't really know, don't really say, because sometimes you might be thinking that you're doing the genuine thing, but you could be making it worse.
For sure.
So, again, it's one of those things, like accountability is huge. There are goals where the goalie, it is a bad goal. It's a should have had goal. But, it's going to happen. Every goalie, Carey Price, whatever, is going to let a bad goal in. Usually what we focus on is when you let that bad goal in. If you're going to let it in, ideally when you're winning 5-1, as opposed to, But again, I would just, for a parent, just be supportive, because it is a very tough situation, and we have the luxury. Even myself, when I do a video with the goalies, I have the luxury of slowing it down, rewinding it, and looking at it, and that's why I love the dialogue with the goalies, because you think, well, you should have got across feet to feet. Yeah, but there's that guy in front. I thought the pass was going to him in the middle. They have their way of processing it. And, I learn as much from my goalies as they hopefully learn from me. So it's just like, again, talk to them. Don't let them make excuses and make them accountable. If it's a bad goal, it happens. And D make mistakes where, unfortunately, forward makes mistakes, the D covers up for it. D makes mistakes. It's our job to cover up for the D, but again, if we don't, it's a goal. So, it's just, I would just be supportive and, just make sure that they're not making excuses for themselves and they're accountable.
No, it's good. And I think the one thing too, I talked to a lot of parents about this too, and you see some of the dads and some of the moms too, they're very intense and they're, I mean, we have kids, so you get it. Like you want what's best for your kid. You see more potential there. You're coaching them in the car. Hey, you know what, if you get the puck, hang on to it, or, whatever that is. Right. Or, and I think the players need parents. They don't need other coaches. They've got enough coaches. They've got skills coaches now. They've got hockey coaches. They've got their summer camp coaches. They've got all these coaches. They don't need another coach giving them shit in the car on the way home or on the way back. Or it doesn't have to be even yelling at them or anything, but just critiquing their game. And like you said, a lot of these parents unfortunately haven't played. I never played football. So if my son loves football and that's what he wants to get into, it's hard for me to give him shit about missing a block or, I never played, so I don't even know what that feels like. Right.
Yeah.
And I think just being a parent, just being supportive, like you said.
Yeah.
And the other huge thing I feel with everybody, our age group, and then even the young age group is being accountable. You mess up, you mess up.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah. You know what? I could have that goal.
Yeah.
You know what? I definitely should have been across there. It was my bad. And there's nothing better than hearing that, right?
Yeah.
Even for a goalie coach or skills coach or a coach is saying, hey, hey boys, my bad. Should have had that one. It slipped out of my glove. Like total bad,
No, exactly. And like one thing I've had the benefit of going through it. So I've learned from my mistakes as well as a parent. And the biggest thing I've learned is what I would do is ask your kid what he thought of himself, how he thought his game was, and then hear what he has to say, and then in a constructive way say, well, what if you would have done this differently or did that differently or whatever, and see what he thinks of it first, rather than just blowing off and telling what you think. And,
that's a great point. And if he's way out in left field, then you can unload on him.
Exactly. Then give him a good kick in the rear end.
Exactly.
But going back to what you said, like you watch an NHL game, I would guarantee some of the goals that the NHL goalies are giving up are exact same as what the minor league goalies or minor hockey goalies. It just happens at a faster pace.
Sure.
And it's all relative. So, you might give up a 5-hole. Like I'm sure Carey Price has given up a 5-hole goal too.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
Happens.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things too for these young kids. I mean, we look at as a player or a goalie, we're always looking at the highest level. We're looking at the NHL highlights, things like that. But man, there's a lot of steps to get to that point, right? So for some of these young families and kids and parents, like not putting that much pressure on your, and especially if your young guys playing Bantam AAA. No offense, but Bantam AAA is a joke when you compare to the NHL.
Yeah.
Your kid's not supposed to be that good yet.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard this before.
It's
like, well, I wanted to play like Carey Price, or I want to play like, whoever. And like, well, no, it's impossible. Like this guy's a veteran, a pro.
Yeah.
There's no way, but he can start making those steps to become his own type of goalie, but at that, keep pushing to that kind of level, right?
Well, and the thing is too, I did a presentation at our development camp for our young goalies, and it was titled Substance versus Style. And the biggest thing is everybody wants to look like a goalie, and because we're well schooled, you look at it and think, well, you can do a really good butterfly, you can push on his knees and all this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, that's not going to separate you from somebody else.
Right.
Because once you get to National Hockey League, everybody can do those technical things. It's what the intangibles, whether it's the physical or the psychological, is what's going to separate you and make you a good goalie. So how you handle adversity, how you handle different situations, like after a goal gets scored on you, do you sit and think about it, or are you able to park it and move on?
Yeah.
And that's what separates the good goalies.
For sure.
So those are the things that I would be focusing on rather than the technique, because technique's easy to learn.
Yeah. Especially if you're athletic, right? I mean, for any of these young kids that are athletic, that they can pick that stuff up pretty quickly. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think the mental part of the game is something that's come up more and more and more in the last probably decade, with a lot of even hockey players, hockey teams having mental coaches, or and you see in a lot of the individual sports like tennis and golf, there's a lot. Almost every pro at that level has somebody that they're working with mentally. What are some key things mentally that a kid can do easily, or a parent can do easily, that can help a kid become more mentally tough? Because when I look at a goaltender, and we think about this, and I've talked to some of the players about this, because a lot of times they don't appreciate what a goalie goes through. But I said, hey, if you cough up a puck as a D-man at the blue line and somebody comes, or you out of the corner, throw a pizza in the middle, guy gets it, scores, or a girl gets it, scores. All right, you made a mistake. Where do you go after that? You go to the bench. Coach comes over and talks to you. You're sitting beside your buddies. Hey, don't worry about it. It's okay. Goalie coughs up a puck and they score in an empty net. Who does that goalie talk to? He gets a couple pad taps, but he's in his cage, sitting there, like, just no one to talk to, no positive, negative feedback on that. Just all he can do is think about it. So he's in his own mental space for an entire game, really. Yeah. And how do young goalies, and I know sometimes they just naturally are just good at it. They just have that type of personality where they kind of let it go. It's not a big deal. But there are some goaltenders, and we've dealt with a couple of them in this area, that don't deal with that very well. But is there anything that parents could do to help, or a kid that could do to kind of help them through that process a little bit?
Well, I think again, it's really different in pro hockey because what we always have the overhead scoreboards.
Yeah.
So you get to see the replay.
Sure, yeah.
And the saying is your mind can't move on until it justifies something. So if after every goal you see a goalie, he's looking up at it.
For sure.
So what they're doing is they're looking, I think, one, what did I do right, wrong? Would I do something different? And then your mind can justify it so you can move on, so you can park it. Then they have the goalie coach after. So whether it's after the game we talk about the goal or the next day we do the video, you can have the dialogue to move on. But as a young goalie, again, it's one of those things where accountability comes into it because a lot of times they like to put blame on somebody else, which doesn't help themselves because they're not dealing with the issue. What I would do is, as a goalie, I would say after goal goes in, as best you can, analyze it, say, did I do what I needed to do? Did I just get beat by a better shot? Because again, at the end of the day, they're trying to score. So you know, sometimes you get beat by a better shot.
For sure.
It is what it is. Again, just be accountable. You know, I did everything I could. I got beat. I'm good. I can move on. I wish I did this. I should have got my stick down on this puck. Okay, now your mind can justify it. Now you can move on. And again, it's one of those things after the fact, then you look at it and think, okay, well, now I need to work on something. So again, it's being accountable, but not being too hard on yourself. Because again, the game it's a game of mistakes. So you're going to make mistakes. And, but I think a lot of times, you know, putting blame to someplace else like my D. Well, your D if the D were perfect, they wouldn't need you as a goalie. You know,
exactly.
The D are going to make mistakes, and that's your job. You signed up for it. Your job is to bail them out. So I think at the end of the day, the long and short is be accountable. Mistakes are going to happen. You know, again, justify why it went in, what could you have done different, and just park it and move on.
And at the pro level, I think that closure is a little bit easier because they're going to get video clips sent to them after the game. They're going to have someone to talk to after the game. They're going to be able to go through that within 24, 48 hours, be able to see what happened. Okay, you know what, I messed up that. I didn't play a good game there. Or, you know what, I messed up on that goal. Or, you know what, I played pretty well. They had 2 goals. Both of them were backdoor tap-ins on the power play. I mean, tough, right? But for the young kids, I think sometimes that's a little bit tougher, right? Some teams do video, but not a lot. But even as a parent, I mean, a lot of parents like to video their kids, which is fine. But not using that video as a threat or not using that video as a scrutinizing video, but saying, hey, here, buddy, you can watch this tonight or tomorrow and take a look at. I ended up getting 2 of the goals on video. You can take a look at them and see what you think. But going through kind of what you're saying, going through that process, a little bit of like analyzing that on your own and being accountable, saying, you know what, that was a pretty good goal. He sniped, you know, bar down on me, caught me. The second one I probably could have had. Maybe I didn't squeeze down hard enough on my pads and I left my 5-hole open and, you know, it happened, right? But getting that closure, right? Yeah,
it's all part of the process too. Like, again, like, you know, you're going to let goals in at bad times. And, you know, maybe watching some NHL games and just, you know, trying to analyze, you know, what you would do different or what, you know, the goalie did well, things like that. And kind of give you some, you know, some understanding of how to play the position. You know, and like I say, well, you know, this happened to Pecorine. You know, it's the same thing. I would have done this different. And, you know, so that you can analyze your game, you have a good understanding of your game and how to, you know, justify it and
for sure
move on. But again, a lot of it comes back to the parents. Some kids are so worried about making a mistake that they're going to hear about it in the car too. So it doesn't allow them, they might be able to park it on the ice, but they know they're going to revisit it when they get in the car too.
Which is brutal.
Doesn't help.
So. No, for sure. Is there, like, especially with young goalies, do you do exercises with them a little bit where you get them to say, hey, pick 3 goals from last week's games or whatever? Let's say you're doing a camp or maybe you're working privates with a young boy or a young girl. Would you ever get them to do exercises like that where you get them to watch a couple of games or even highlights and kind of just analyze quickly, a couple notes on what happened there, why that goal gets scored, or what could have been done differently? Are those exercises that you would kind of promote to people to do? Yeah,
oh, definitely. In one of the situations, we have a prospect that plays the NCAA in the States, and you know, you don't get to see him, and when you go to see him, you can't get on the ice.
That's right.
Him. So we do a lot through video called Huddle. And I was getting to points where you mark it up and send it to him, then you talk to him, and I was getting the sense that he was agreeing with me just so that it would move on.
Right.
So what I did with him is I sent him a blank game. I told him that he had to mark it up and send it back to me, so that I understood if he knew what we've discussed in the past, and if he could analyze his game properly. And there was a void where, you know, he didn't analyze as much as what I would like to have whatever.
Yeah. That's a great exercise, though.
It is, because he watches it. He has to understand. He has to comment on it. And again, putting things on paper, you end up understanding it better too, rather than just going through your mind and maybe fast forwarding it or whatever. So and now we're at the point where I send him the clips on Huddle. He sends me his comments back.
Cool.
So it kind of evolved, and hopefully he's a better goalie for it. So. And
have you seen him grow a little bit as even on how he's critiquing?
Yeah.
Because even that's like, for you, it's easy because you do it all the time. So you get your Huddle out, you know what you're doing, you know what you're looking for. It's quick and easy. But for some of these young kids, they're like, man, like they probably never critiqued video, number one, and critiquing themselves. So that's a whole learning process as well, right? Is being able to pick out those little key things that maybe your eye sees he wouldn't see, but now after doing it 4, 5, 6, 7 times, he's getting way better at seeing those little inefficiencies.
Plus the fact that like when you're sitting talking to him, he's just saying, right. You don't know how much is actually clicking in. And, and obviously some things were going in one ear out the other. So it's kind of, it was good. It helped him. And, and again, the biggest thing with a lot of goalies, and actually kids nowadays is the immaturity.
Yeah.
The kids, I read a comment the other day that kids have changed, and at the end of the day, I don't think kids have changed too much. It's the parents that have changed.
I totally agree.
We're too easy on them. We give them too much and all this kind of stuff. That when I grew up, there was no cell phones, so you had to do, I think it's the parents are to blame rather than the kids are to blame.
Yeah.
So,
no, I 100% agree with you. I think there's a lot more. We've evolved as a society, as a nation, as a world, right? Obviously, and there's a lot more technology, a lot more things that we weren't exposed to. Not to say that's good or bad. But I don't think we as parents have dealt with that technology very well.
Yeah.
And I think, I think we're all to blame. I think we've all, but I think you're right. I think that accountability, being a little bit stricter on certain things, having rules, saying no, that's a really hard thing to do.
Yep.
You want your kid melting down in the middle of Walmart because you didn't buy him a toy. Just buy him the toys, fine, let's keep moving, right?
Yeah.
And I think those are things, it's a lot harder to say no, you know what I mean? And have that meltdown, deal with it. But I think long term, that's way better for them, obviously,
absolutely.
right? And
because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And we're just so afraid of thinking that they're mad at us.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it. And, but at the end of the day, they don't really understand anyway. So they'll be better off for it down the road for sure.
Yeah. I don't think, I don't know what your parents like, but I don't remember my parents ever caring if I didn't like them or liked them.
No, exactly. Yeah.
I remember one time I told him I was going to move out. I'm like, I'm out of here. I was like 10 years old, right? I'm like, I'm leaving. We got into a fight, whatever. I'm moving out. I hate this place, So I literally stormed up to my room, and like 5 seconds later, my mom came in the door with a suitcase and just started packing my drawers. And I was like, wait a sec, is this for real? It's like, no, it's fine. Here, we'll pack you up. You can get going. Yeah. And then you kind of have one of those, but it's it's all those things that I remember too, of just being stern and just being, you know what I mean? Being disciplined with the kids. And I think whether it's sport or whatever it is, I mean, I think it all helps these kids become better people, whether they play hockey or not, just trying to develop good people, Well,
that's what we're there for. We're there to get them ready for the real world. And, I don't know, like myself included, are we doing a good enough job? Who knows?
We won't know until they're like 25, 30 and see how bad or good they are. Right?
And we'll be in Italy on a vacationing or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But, one thing you mentioned though earlier on, and I want to touch on it really quick, because you said, as a parent, instead of always critiquing right away in the car after the game or at home, ask them how they played. And it goes back to like you analyze your own video. And even if you're a parent that did video of the game, or maybe videoed a couple of the goals or whatever, or even some of the play on him moving around or her moving around the net, and saying, hey, you know what, how do you think you played? And they can answer that. Say, here, check out this video and let me know like some of the things you think were good or bad. And not because you want to critique anything, but just to get them thinking about how they're playing and critiquing themselves. And I think at the end of the day, going back to that mental part of the game and just being able to understand that hockey IQ, I think that's a big piece of just learning your position better and learning what you're doing right and wrong.
Oh yeah, and just being true to yourself.
Yeah.
But, again, you're not kidding it, because again, eventually you're going to hear it from a coach. So if you learn early that I screwed up, good. What would you have done different? I should have did this.
Yeah.
Again, it's accountability. It makes you. Probably creates a better relationship for you and your child too.
Yeah.
But again, it gets them ready for down the road, because even at the pro level, like guys come in the coach room like, why I'm not playing? Why? How come? well, they don't understand what they're doing right or wrong.
Yeah.
And once they see the video, then I understand now why I'm not getting the power play time or whatever. And again, if you learn it now, that transition is going to be so much easier when you get to the higher levels, because either minor hockey coaches usually a little bit more patient than pro coaches who get paid to win.
Right.
And if they can't trust you, or you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're not going to get played.
Yeah.
And a perfect example is the Hunters with the Knights.
Yeah.
There's junior hockey, but as much as some people cut them up, but they do for the most part get guys ready for the next level.
For sure. Yeah.
And
yeah, well, I was just on the ice with them yesterday and today with some of the young guys, and there's some 16-year-olds that are in the league. That's hard, right? That, and being involved with major junior hockey for a long time, and not understanding the process. There's two different types of players. That player that's pissed off that he's not playing and rattled that he's not getting an opportunity, and then there's also that other player that gets the process a little bit. And and then I was talking to Mark and or Dale and Dylan and Stedman today about that stuff, and they were saying, like, some of the parents, this group's been great, the parents have been good, but the one parent is like, I'm not a hockey dad. Never played. I trust you guys and what you're doing.
Yeah.
So my kid's playing half the games, I'm good with that. I trust the process. And that's like just a breath of fresh air for a coach to hear that, or a skills coach or whoever, right? To say, okay, you know what? He's playing every second game. I'm okay with that. Is he developing? Is he a good kid? Is he doing the right things to hopefully get more ice time later in the year or next year, Yeah. And then you have the other side where a goalie's getting sat every third game or every second game, not playing a lot, or, basically the other goalie's becoming that number one guy. And how are they dealing with that? Are they going on the ice early? Are they working extra? Are they calling you? Are they talking to guys? Are they trying to get their game better? Or are they pouting and sulking and blaming other people? You know?
And that's all part of the, you look at, and there's that fine line, like, as whether it's a goalie or a player, game time is vital part of developing, because it's the actual game itself is where you learn and move on. But, as a chicken or the egg. Like, are you not getting the game time because you're not putting the extra time in practice? So you're not working hard. And again, like I said, this goalie that we have at in NCAA, is one of those things where the immaturity comes through, because he's not getting played. He's already getting more ice time than what he was projected to get being a freshman.
Right.
And, but then he pouts because he doesn't get the ice time or a game he thinks he should get, but then he doesn't put the effort in practice.
Right.
So, it's there's that fine line between, you need to get played you need to get game action to develop, but what leads up to it?
Yeah.
You have to earn that.
Yeah.
And again, practices are where you earn your coach's trust and respect, and that usually leads to more game time.
Yeah.
So it usually a lot of times sometimes there's not fair, and but more often than not you have to look in the mirror and say, why am I not getting played? And usually you can point the finger at yourself and say, maybe I need to work harder, do a little bit more in the gym, or do a little bit more off ice or on ice, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now you've had an opportunity over the years to work with some obviously elite goaltenders playing in the NHL, and a lot of elite ones. Do you notice a similarity between all these different goaltenders that are high level, like a Rene, Mason, like these players, these goaltenders that have made it, that are doing that? Are there a couple common traits that you see, even though they're different styles, different type of people, but are there a couple of similar traits in them that you see that you're like, what, this is obviously something that, these are not specific to goaltending, just players, but being a pro and getting to that level. Because I know, like Mason, for instance, you had him at a young age and kind of had him all the way through. But some of the other goalies that you've ran into at the pro level, the college level, that, man, there's definitely, like, a little bit of a recipe as far as having the right things together in order to play at that level.
The probably the epitome of any goalie I've ever worked with is UC Saros.
Okay.
Like, he. If he was he's an elite goalie, every aspect he has apart from size is exceptional. And
how tall is he?
He'd be lucky if he's 5'11".
Okay.
But he's powerful. He's a very good person. He's mentally tough. He's his work ethic is unbelievable. There's times during the we had him I had him in Milwaukee for a year and a half, but when he went up to the top, like he's playing behind Pecorino, so he's not playing. He would do extra work before practice with Benny. He would stay on after with the guys that are the Black Aces. He could be on practice for 2 hours, and he'd be completely bagged.
Yeah.
but he would put that extra effort in.
Yeah.
And again, not only do you earn the respect of your teammates, but you earn that trust with your coaches.
For sure.
You see that work ethic, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And you're only going to get better.
Yeah.
Because like again, you have to look like yourself playing in any league. You have to learn how to play when you're fatigued.
Yeah.
It's easy to play when you're fresh, but there are times where you're going to be like a 5-minute power play.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be able to compete and play when you're fatigued. And just what he brings to the table is I've never seen it before in my life.
That's awesome.
And again, he's good in the fact that he's a great goalie and he's doing really well in Nashville. But on the other hand, he set a bar. So if you don't have what he has at 5'11", there's no hope in hell you're going to play in the National Hockey League.
Because I was going to say he's basically undersized as a goaltender,
Yes.
big time. Some of these guys are 6'4", 6'5", and he's obviously competing at that level with those monsters and doing it because of those things.
But he has those intangibles that make him exceed or excel because of the lack of size.
Yeah.
And, so again, when we're scouting, we're looking at he's 5'11", but does he have those attributes that UC has? And it's that ability to, to park a goal. Like you look at him after he gets scored on, he's just staring. Like I don't know what goes through his mind, but he's able to park whatever it is and make a save, or do whatever, like move on from it. And but again, it's one of those things like work ethic.
Yeah,
work ethic's unbelievable. Like you have to have that willingness to put in the extra time. Simple things of being a good person.
Yeah.
These goalies that come from minor hockey, they're always the elite goalie, the top goalie. They go to junior B, they're the top goalie. They have to learn that they're not going to always be the best.
Yeah.
And you have to find a way that earns a coach's trust to put you in the net. And because again, goalie in NCAA, he played in the North American League, was a number one, went to USHL, was a number one. Now he's not a number one.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to deal with that. Excuse me. And every level you go to, you're not going to be the number one.
Yeah.
And so you have to have those intangibles that, again, make you get better, adapt to the level, but earn the trust to get you to be able to put you in the net.
Yeah, no, for sure. How old's Saros?
Oh, geez, he's 22.
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah, he's still young.
Yeah. Which is incredible. Like, can you see him potentially becoming a number one at some point?
He will himself. To
he's got all the potential as far as just work ethic, all that kind of stuff. If he was 6'3", pretty much a guarantee down the road with that work ethic and that.
The only thing with UC with the size is like a guy like Pekka who's 6'5", you can have that off night where a puck hits you because of size.
Sure.
Whereas UC, you can't have that off night because you don't have the luxury of filling as much space.
Yeah.
And the puck maybe going in where it would hit Heck on the shoulder.
Right.
So you don't have that luxury that way. So, but you see the professionalism and all that kind of stuff. I see it.
Yeah.
Him
cool.
overcoming that.
Yeah. Who are some of the other goalies that you worked with kind of at that high level? And what were some of the other characteristics on top of that? Like, were they, did all of them have that crazy heart? Because even as a player, you see players that work crazy hard and put in so much time and extra effort, but then you also see the other ones that don't, and they're just naturally gifted and they're so good and they're playing at a high level. They're making millions of dollars right now, and they don't have that work ethic that Asaros has or some of these other players have, but they have other things that are almost compensate for that a little bit, and it's hard to tell young kids, well, if you're really skilled and really talented, I mean, don't worry about working that hard. You're going to be okay. We want everyone to work hard and push a little bit, but and not to say that these skill players haven't pushed. I'm just saying you see two different ends of the spectrum sometimes, right? And it's frustrating for some of these players that work their tail off and don't get those opportunities.
I would say my first comparison would be in St. Louis, we had Ben Bishop and we just drafted Jake Allen.
Okay.
And Ben Bishop was 6'7", came from Maine, moved right into the American League. One of those guys, he's got the mentality where the arrogance, the cockiness.
Yeah.
And sometimes the work ethic wasn't great, but he got by because he was big.
Yeah.
And he was the next coming of, Jake Allen, unbelievable skill. Unfortunately, I went to Columbus when he started. I worked with him in junior.
Okay.
But I went to Columbus when he went to Peoria. But the big knock on him was he's got unbelievable skill. How bad does he want it?
Okay.
Because he's got that East Coast mentality where it's, If it works out, great. If not,
Yeah.
no big deal. So we always question whether he'd more interested in playing hockey or going golfing.
Right.
So there's one that got by a lot because of his skill level rather than, and, I don't know if that's, I don't know. I can't comment whether that's why he's struggling now or not. I don't know. But,
Sure.
But there's ones where you get to a certain level because of skill, but, the substance takes you to eliteness.
Yeah.
And, like Pecorino, like his work ethic.
Yeah.
It's, at a skill level, he might be deficient in a couple technical aspects.
Sure.
But because of his work ethic, his compete, and all the intangibles makes him successful. Whereas a guy like Ben Bishop, as he made it to that elite level, I guess that's arguable. But, but he's got the skill to do it.
Right.
Is it the work ethic that doesn't push him?
Yeah.
So Steve Mason, another one. Unbelievable skill. A little bit, he had a little bit too much success too early. And again, it's one of those where he faced adversity in London, overcame it, but he was given everything in Columbus.
Right.
And, there's times where he probably should have been sent down to the American League, but, just to regroup and, see how good he had it.
Yeah.
But, and again, you become entitled.
Yeah.
And, and it's one of those things where, again, you always revert back to what makes you successful. And work ethic and intangibles overcome skill set. And that's go back to my substance versus style.
Yeah.
You need that substance, accountability, work ethic, maturity, all those kind of stuff, good habits rather than skill.
Yeah.
Because once you get to that level, everybody's got the skill.
Yeah. No, that makes sense for sure. Especially at that position to be elite and to be, a steady number one, right? Or a Hall of Fame goaltender. That's hard when you think of goalies, right? Well,
you look through the National Hockey League, how many legit number ones are there, or top end number ones are there in their league?
No, and you see some of them flip flopping. You see some of them losing it, and another guy picking it up.
Maybe good for a year, not but steady. Like Pecorino's been
totally.
Braden Holtby, and he did struggle for a bit.
Yeah.
Like he's still an elite goalie, but
But even at that level, even those guys, Price, Rene, although they all went through their little bit of downs and backups, but at the end of the day, those three, more of them, but they just have that work ethic. You hear this from other people. You're in that exact clique, so you kind of hear more than I would. But even getting an opportunity to skate with Washington this year a couple times and getting to meet Braden Holtby and Phoenix Copley, like unbelievable guys. Holtz obviously is ended up taking over a little bit last year and run with the playoffs, but just really nice people. And Kops is another guy who's just working his tail off to stay in the NHL and be a solid goaltender, and but has that work ethic, and Holtby as well. But there's reasons why guys are where they are, right? When you look at it, and guys are elite and staying elite and consistently elite.
Yeah. Well, it's the attention to detail and the good work habits, right? Is what separates the goalies. Yeah. And like I say, everybody's so well schooled, but just the intangibles separate. It's hard to tell these kids because they don't understand what it is. Yeah. And hopefully that again, it's instilled from in the household. Yep. Work ethic and all that kind of stuff. But again, like a lot of kids think that playing AA sucks. Because all your friends are in AAA. But again, it's one of those things. Learn from every situation, and things happen for a reason. So you get sent down to AA. Learn how to be a number one, as opposed to splitting the time or whatever it may be. And again, if it's meant to be, it'll be, and you can determine a lot of that yourself. And adversity is a great thing.
For sure.
And may as well learn how to do it now than being entitled and make it to National Hockey League and then being sent down to the minors. And nothing worse. Like I've been on an NHL plane. It's pretty sweet.
It's pretty good.
I'd much prefer to eat salmon and steak after a game on fly home than eat a cold chicken burger on the bus.
For sure. Yeah.
It's better to learn all that stuff at a young age when there's not as much on the line.
Yeah. And for these young kids that do get cut from AAA or get cut from AA and go to A or whatever it is, I think too, a lot of times as parents, we need to help those kids deal with that situation rather than trying to call the coach or blaming, you know what, Johnny's dad goes golfing with the coach. That's why you got cut.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what, buddy, maybe you weren't good enough. You weren't good enough to fight for that spot. And that's okay. So what do we need to do? What do we need to work on here? And let's go down to play A or double A or whatever it is. And let's fix those things. Let's get you ready for next year or the year after, you know.
Which unfortunately sometimes that is the case that, you know, there's nepotism or whatever it may be. But again, it's, you know, control what you can control. You can't control the coach's decision, but you can control how you handle it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can sit and pout and, you know, at the end of the day, it's affected you.
Yeah.
So, you know, may as well work hard and, you know, prove somebody wrong or have that little fire in your belly to be the best that you can be and move on from there.
No, for sure. I won't take up much more of your time. One quick thing, if you were talking to a young family right now, let's say they had a younger kid who's 7, 8, like that, kind of just starting out, figuring out their positions, things like that. What kind of I know there's no perfect answer here, but if it was your son or daughter, what kind of a recipe would you set them up on for the next 5, 6 years? So meaning obviously not taking it too seriously, but I'd want them to play other sports. I'd want them to be, you know, athletic. I'd you know, at this age, I'd probably start getting them into privates or whatever that is. Like, let's say I had a kid that was 8 years old and just, you know, loved net and wants to play net. He's been playing since he's 6, and now he's into it. He wants to try to make that AAA team in 2 years. And, you know, is there kind of an idea of how you would do it as far as just like giving them a kind of wide boundaries, but on certain things that you think are important as they're going through those young ages?
I always found there's that fine line between, like, you have to understand your kid and know what they actually love to do. And because kids usually won't come to say, I want to go do a private. And you got to find that fine line between pushing privates on them and making sure that that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
But again, there's a good point about being doing multi-sports. The athleticism, the hand-eye coordination, all that kind of stuff comes into it. But again, I would just I hesitate to do privates until later in the summer. Yeah. Just because they need time to go get away from the game and have that fire in their belly to come back and want to do it. Yeah. But again, it's just do lots of different things, and you know, again, it's. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but it's putting them in situations where, one, they have that fire that they want to come to you and do it. Yeah. And you know, making every situation available to them as far as you know, doing the different sports that they, you know, coordinated or you know, stuff like that. But again, know your kid, and if they need if you don't think that they'll come to, you know, present it to them and say, hey, listen, you know, Dwayne's doing this skating clinic, do you want to go? Yeah. And if they say no, trust that they don't want to do it. Yeah. You know, and again, one thing I don't see enough of is kids don't go out and play. Yeah. You know, like
outside? Yeah. You mean like where the sun is?
Yeah. No, like, you know, road hockey. Like I said to my son there driving the other day, I said, these are perfect roads for road hockey. You know, the snow's packed down, you can slide. And, you know, like he looked at me like I had 4 heads, you know, but, you know, like simple little things like that, not only the fresh air, but handling pucks as they're bouncing around. Yeah. You know, using your feet to control, you know, different things like that. Yeah. Plus just having fun. Yeah. You know, and, you know, just different little things like that, like just, you know.
No, it's great. No, and I think it's key. Like, I think too many, I'm the same as you. Like, at young ages, I don't like doing privates with 6, 7, 8-year-olds. Like, unless they're really into it, like you said. And a lot of times I tell parents, like, let's say they want to do shooting lessons or they want to do a private. I'll say that. I'm like, do they know they need to get better at skating? Well, no, not really. Well, then I can't do it. You know, like if they already think they're a good skater, then let's not focus on that. Let's focus on something else. And if you're going to invest the money in doing privates and things like that or shooting lessons, well then, or your son wants a new stick that's $250. Well, are they shooting pucks at home? Right. No. Well, then why are you buying them a new stick? Yeah. You know, sometimes parents look at me like I have 3 heads, but I'm like, that makes no sense to me. Like, my little guy's can't shoot a puck yet. He's like, Dad, I want to stick with more flex. He's 6. Yeah. I'm like, you don't even know what flex is. He's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, Matt, you can get a new stick when you start shooting pucks and when you start practicing more. And he loves hockey, and that's because he's 6. I mean, who knows, right? But I want him to understand, like, you don't just, you want a new stick? No problem. I'll go grab you one. Like, no, you need to show me that you are going to work to get a new stick. Yeah. You know, or you're going to work to do a private, or you're going to do. So I think that the more we can get our kids to get invested in this stuff, not financially, but just time. Hey, I want to start working out because all my buddies are working out. Okay, well, you start doing we'll put something on the board, 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 squats every day or every second day or whatever it is. It could be light. You start doing that stuff, show me that you're motivated to do it, then I'll get you a gym membership. Then I'll put you in that program, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think as kids get older, they understand. They know who's good, who's not good. They know if that player's a good player or a bad player. Even at the ages that's 5, 6, 7, you come off the ice, I'll say, hey, who are some of the best players out there? And he'll tell me number 8 on the blue team is really good and 11 was really good. And this is a 1-hour game against other kids. He doesn't know the kids, right? But he's right away picking out the kids that were really good on the other team, which is great, right? Well, would you like to be that good? It's like, yeah. How do you think they got that good? They would probably practiced a lot. I'm like, yeah. And that's one thing we preach at home all the time. Like, how do you get better at tying your shoelaces? You got to practice. Now it's just feeling like better practice. Like, yeah, I'm not doing it. You got to practice, right?
Yeah.
But getting these kids to be kind of have a little bit of skin in the game in order to keep developing. And if your son loves golf or loves shooting, you're gonna buy him a new gun. If he's into it and he's practicing and he's researching
if he puts the time into it,
exactly right. It makes it. I don't know. As a parent, I don't mind spending that money. If they're working at it, loving it and practicing it, I almost I'm excited.
Yeah.
Oh man, cool. We'll get you a better gun. We'll get you a better set of golf clubs. This will be sweet. We'll be able to play better,
Well, that's the thing. That's a big joke with me and Cameron is, we get it through the CCM rep.
Yeah.
Cameron's got some really good clubs.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying, well, you got to go get some better clubs because I get all his hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, Cameron, a bad golfer with good clubs is still a bad golfer.
Yeah.
I have to put the time in to be a better
Totally,
golfer because just because I have good clubs doesn't make me a better golfer.
Yeah.
But
golf's a funny one though. Like you do privates for goaltending. I do privates for skill stuff. And then I still suck at golf and I've never taken a private lesson. And I always leave the course and I'm like, you're a little pissed because you missed whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I mad right now?
Yeah.
I never practice and I never get any help. So, I mean, of course I'm going to be bad.
We're athletic. We should be
Yeah,
good.
like yeah, exactly. My buddy's good. Oh, why am I not good?
But
funny.
But the thing is, though, too, the two keys I think to anything is passion and perseverance. Mm-hmm. Like if you have the passion for something and you have the perseverance where you're going to put your time in, and that's what's going to make you elite.
Yeah.
And like you say, passion is good. Like you don't mind investing it. You have to show. Don't do it for your own ego.
Yeah.
Because the kid wants to do it. That's when you put the time and money into them.
Yeah. No, totally. No, that's great. Well, listen, I really appreciate popping by today.
Thanks for having me.
It was good. Love to do this again and get into some more stories of some of the NHL guys that you work with and stuff.
Oh,
but
God, yeah.
best of luck with Nashville. Hopefully they can make another good run this year.
No, I hope so too. It was quite an experience going down there for the Stanley Cup.
How sick was that city last year?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous city.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like an undercover dangerous city though, right? Because there's no casino, like there's no big strip or anything like that. But man, the downtown's awesome. It's fun, good people. It's great vibe.
It was quite an experience. Stanley Cup final, cowboy boots, Daisy Dukes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All the bachelor parties at the same time. It was something else.
Yeah, it's a busy city.
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons. Yeah. No, it's awesome. Well, thanks a lot, buddy.
No problem. Thank you.